फॉर्मेट है सो देखते हैं वो खुद होना है एज पर बैंक की टेम्पलेट में मेरा टेम्पलेट सैलरी का डिजाइन करता है एक बार मैं ज्वाइन करके देखूँ इट्स फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट हाँ राइट 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 ये मैं कर सकता हूँ थर्ड ऑप्शन अपना अकाउंट ये भी क्रिएट होता है जैसे अपना के थ्रू बैंक ट्रांसफर चाहिए फिर उसको आप जो क्या करते हो आप आपके अकॉर्डिंग फिर से करते हैं एंड फिर कुछ एंड उसके बाद में बैंक सैलरी प्रोसेस कर देते हैं वो जो है वो सबके लिए अपन एनेबल करते हैं बट ये जो ऑप्शन है सेकंड वाला जो बताया मैंने कस्टमाइज थिंग बैंक टू बैंक हर एक बैंक का टेम्पलेट अलग होता है तो आप क्योंकि छोटा कंपनी है तो उनके लिए 10-12 लोग ही रहते हैं तो उनको इतना अपन ज्यादा ये नहीं करते दूसरी की चलो आपका एक सर्विस है तो अपन समझ लीजिए लेकिन आपके जो एक बैंक के अनुसार जो है वो मैं आपको वही टेम्पलेट में बना के देता हूँ। फिर वो सेकंड ऑप्शन बेस्ट है बिकॉज इट्स नॉट चार्जेबल राइट बैंक से
Can you hear? Hello, Prutha. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Prutha, just check with Rahul if someone is going to introduce me. Prutha?
Yes, ma'am.
To ask Rahul if someone is going to introduce me.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes, Gaurav.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So, while all of the attendees, are gathering in, um, maybe just give us 5 minutes so that we can get the audience who are just about to log in, and then we can begin. But want to thank all of the attendees who have joined up till now. Just be patient for a couple of minutes. I know we're all excited for the webinar. Just maybe give us about 5 minutes till the attendees join in, and then we can begin. We are looking at the webinar to be about close to 30-35 minutes. Maybe it can be 40 minutes, but we would want this webinar to be an interactive session, which is today going to be led um, by Mrs. Vibha Anup, who is a director and co-founder at FiEdge. So let's just hang tight for maybe a couple of minutes, and then we will begin the webinar. Right. Good afternoon, everyone. I think let's begin this webinar. To give a brief idea about who our speaker is with today. So with us, we have Mrs. Vibha Anup, who is a director and co-founder at 5H. She also brings across on the table with almost 30 years of extensive experience implementing HR transformations at multiple organizations, right? Talking about some of her past experience. So she has held leadership roles such as the head of HR and program director at Godrej and Bosch along with Aditya Birla, right? Today's topic is going to be from resistance to adoption. Lot of people who have joined in this webinar today would be looking to implement an HRMS, or they would have implemented an HRMS, right? While implementing and while deciding the HRMS and kind of setting it up is the first stage. However, more important is driving change and making sure that multiple people are using the HRMS, right? We do not want it to be a system wherein the employees and the managers feel it's a burden that only the HR team carries. It's something that every single employee in the organization must use. And today we are going to talk about, or we are going to charter down, how can we get our team members, our managers, our employees, and even the management to utilize the HRMS completely. What are the challenges they face and how can we resolve them? Yeah. So I think let's begin this webinar. And I would like to keep this webinar very interactive. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat. And Rahul, I would request that you please keep on putting question answers and polls in the chat so the attendees can also answer.
Yes, for sure, Gaurav.
Thank you.
Okay. So thank you, Gaurav, and thank you, participants, for joining this seminar. And can you all hear me well? Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am. You are able to hear us.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. So what we're going to do is that today we are going to talk about a very interesting subject, which is from resistance to adoption. I think this is a subject which is very, very important for HR folks. Most of our board asks us for an ROI on once you implement an HRMS. And while we do a lot of effort on how the on building the launch, what's the real benefit of an HRMS is when the adoption rate is very high for an HRMS. So we are going to dwell upon how do you bring that adoption rate high in an organization, and whether there is a science behind and what we can do about the same. When we looked at HRMS implementation, we realized that there are certain things that we need to take care if we want a successful HRMS to come in. And that's the reason we have 6 master classes that we had decided, right from how to buy a good HRMS and what decisions to go into it. What is the role of an HR leader? Today we are doing the subject of from resistance to adoption. And afterwards, we may also look at how to calculate and demonstrate the HRMS ROI, or how great HRMS, some of the successful HRMS projects, and what is the lessons that one can learn from a failed HRMS implementation. So these were the 6 topics that we talked about. We've completed 2 classes, and this is the 3rd one that we are taking now. So I want to ask the team here that, I was looking at a Gartner study, and as you all know, Gartner is a very recognized research firm which works a lot in the SaaS products. And it was very interesting to see that when they did this survey for almost, a large bucket of companies, they realized that the number which came in on the adoption was 32%. So only 32% of the employees actually use an HRMS in a company regularly. This is one. If any of you all agree with this number, this is a Gartner study which says that generally in an organization, only 32% of the people actually use the full HRMS suite. And if we really want this number to go up from 32% to, let's say, 95%, there is a journey. There is a way the whole thing has to happen, and that's what we're going to talk about. Now, typically, when you implement an HRMS, and I want to understand whether most of you all find it something like that do you, even after having the HRMS, still leave approvals happen on WhatsApp? How many of you all agree? Can you all please just put on the chat bot yes or no? Still HR receives request on WhatsApp. Yes, some of you all have written. The second thing is that even if you have a full expense management, travel requests are still done on emails. Can I go for my tour from this date to this date? And once you come in, also still finance approvals are done, the expense approvals are done on paper rather than actually using a system. Does this happen? Anybody? Even after you have a full-blown HRMS? You say the answer is yes, let's put that. The second thing that you see is that even though the pay slips are available on the system, HR will come to, employees will come to HR for a lot of queries immediately after the payroll. We'll typically see that you have a lot of people who are coming to you for, queries on the payroll, and HR, in fact, for the first 10 days of the month is only working on, leave attendance and payroll queries resolving or compliances. So eventually, for value addition work, they actually get only 15 days of time, because 15 days of their time is only going in leave attendance, payroll, and compliances. And this is even after you have an HRMS. Sometimes you also have the PMS ratings and the increment proposals. Even if you have a PMS, ultimately HR will sit with the MD or the HODs and have an Excel list, and you individually for each employee you look at what is the rating. Does it happen? Yes or no? Anybody? Anybody in the team, does it happen? Yes. So this kind of things, why do they happen? Even after you have a good HRMS, still there are manual processes that happen. And how, as HR professionals, as HR leaders, how can we actually ensure that this habits change in our organization? So there is, let's understand a little bit more about the same. So before we go into what is really, how we can do it, let's understand what is HRMS adoption. What does it mean that my HRMS is working well? What does it say? Does it say that, your employees know about the HRMS or they have logged in? That mean HR adoption? Or HR adoption means is that using the HRMS naturally as a default way of work, daily work to be done. So it's not about how many times only the login has been done by the employee or the manager, but whether HRMS has changed the habit among the employees, among the managers, among the HR, among the CEOs. That's when we can say that yes, the HRMS adoption has happened. That means HR becomes integrated into the daily working. Now, what does that mean? It means that employees apply leave through HRMS, approvals are done through that, expenses claims are submitted through that, request travels are made through that, you have your pay slips there, form 16 there, employee declaration there, you have your entire ratings run through that, training evaluation is run through the system, the competency evaluation is the system, and managers also actively look at that for data and not go to HR. If that is happening in an organization, then you can say HRMS adoptions. And for that matter, if we look at HR2, if HR really runs all the confirmations, increments through this process, uses the variable pay dashboard through this one, uses the analytics which come through an HRMS for presenting the HRMS to the management on a regular basis. And actually, HR feels that after implementing HRMS, my time which used to, let's say, spend on manual activities has reduced by 30%. That's when we can say that HR adoption is very high. So it's important to first, I wanted to define what is HRMS adoption. Now, what we have to understand is that there is a flow in an HRMS implementation. Most of the time, when you buy an HRMS, you work with the HRMS team, you do a setup, and the setup is done. HR checks for the pilot payroll is done correctly or not, and then the email to the employees, they feel that the HR implementation has started. Now, that's just beginning. Post that, there is this whole training piece, awareness piece, and that should not be one time but need to happen on a regular basis. I, in fact, later on will talk about a concept of HRMS Thursday, where on a regular basis you kind of keep updating about the HRMS. Then we have to have the experience, which is the first logins that happen. At that point in time, what is the experience of each of the employee and the managers? After that, we need to, as HR, measure whether it's been used regularly or not. Post that, it becomes a habit. Habit means if it's stopped, then people feel uncomfortable. That's when we can say that it's a habit within the organization. So if tomorrow, let's say you do leave approvals, and if the leave approval system is not working, then there is a escalation happening in the organization. That's when we can say that the habit is integrated into the organization and it is happening. And post that, we move to a digital culture, which is actually that's when the adoption goes higher. So most organizations actually work on the first maybe 2 or the first 3 phases, which is implementation, training, and first logins. The rest 4, 5, 6 is something that you need to focus on, which is regular usage, habit formation, and digital culture, if you really want the HR adoption to go higher. Now, let's understand, why does it fail? Why does the HRMS adoption fail? What are the typical reasons why it happened? And the one of the first and the most important thing is mujhe pata hi nahi tha. Lack of awareness. Most of the managers don't go deep dive into the system and do not use the system completely, and therefore sometimes they're not aware, and that is why lack of awareness is one of the key reasons why we have a resistance to adoption. The second important thing is a poor user experience. Most of the time they go through the system. Initially, they are very excited, and if they feel that the system is not user friendly, it's very difficult, it's complex, it's complicated for using, there are too many clicks, too many places they need to go, that's when also the adoption rate goes down. The third is, of course, resistance to change, which is that why do I need to do this? I'm very happy to give approval on a WhatsApp. I'm very happy to use an Excel. Why do I need to go to the system? I have to log in and use it and everything. So there is typically a resistance to change, and this could vary in a company from in pockets. So HR needs to identify in what pockets is the resistance today. Then of course the training which needs to happen. Then there is training which is going on. That is we need to continuously do training. And one of the things which is most important is that the leadership is not using it. In my earlier classes also, I talked about the importance of, the leadership alignment and the stakeholders ownership of the HRMS. If the leaders don't really use the system for a PMS review, if the leaders don't do a competency assessment on the system, if they don't use the 360 degrees feedback while discussing, understanding the potential of an employee, then your HRMS is going to fail. So we need our CXOs to actually use the system effectively. And for that, what I've seen is most of the time, HR need to do their training, and they need to find some time to become savvy with the whole process. And the last thing is that it is not made mandatory, that the whole system, after some time, guys, if you want to change an habit among any employee, it is important to have a roadblocker for something which is a manual process. So you stop and not let a manual process run parallelly. Until it runs parallelly, employees are going to find a way out. So it's important to have a mandatory stop to the alternate processes. So these are some of the things which actually lower your adoption rate. And always I would like to say is that people don't resist technology, they resist changing habits. And for changing habits, we really need to, as HR, act as evangelists and ensure that they feel comfortable with the change. Now, if I say that, what is the data? Why am I saying that there is so much resistance? So what I feel is that, as I earlier told you all, the 32% average HRMS usage rate is there. Then we have that 1 in every 4 new HR tech rollouts fail to meet the adoption targets. This is an insight which has come in. 48% of the HR leaders call low adoption their top hurdle. So if you talk to them today, if you see, most of us will have HR digitization as a KPI for our, our CEO has mandated it. In fact, most of the HR today is also talking about adoption of AI into their day-to-day processes. And that's a mandate actually coming from the board or for the management nowadays. So, and when you talk to the HR, what they feel is that this is the management is somewhere the vision is very clear, but when it comes to adoption, they find it a big resistance because people are not willing to change, and sometimes people don't even have the time to adopt. And that's when it is important for HR to look at a particular methodology, the process, to ensure that HR adoption comes in. Okay. And the last thing is that, which is important, is the time span. If we think that in an organization, an HRMS is going to be successful within the next 2-3 months, I must say that somewhere the judgment is going wrong. And HRMS to really implement in an organization takes around 6 to 8 months, depending upon the size and depending upon the effort the HR is putting in. So it's important to understand this and then work out a strategy of how your HR adoption can go up. Also, today people have become very savvy with UPIs. In fact, I find that as a great case study. That UPI, if you see, they have become in COVID time, suddenly the usage went up a lot. And why did it go? Because of course there was no other alternative. That's the reason, the adoption of a UPI payment went up. The second thing which happened is that it was easy to use. It was something which was on the mobile. It was on a click of a button. So instead of actually giving an actual currency, paying on Google Pay or paying on UPI became much more easier. So when you buy a HRMS or when you are reviewing an HRMS, please ensure that the user experience is very, very simple. It has a mobile application which can be easily adopted. Mails are integrated with your HRMS system so that, it's easy for you all to actually ensure the success of your HRMS. I want to just take an example, and this is an interesting example because apart from HRMS, we also do consulting. We do HR consulting and actually help companies identify the areas where HR digitization can happen. And I like this interesting case study where we talk about a WhatsApp leave syndrome. And this was a manufacturing company with almost 800 employees. HRMS was implemented. And, if you look at what was the problem was that employee texted, "Sir, leave tomorrow," on WhatsApp. Employee managers approved through text, and HR entered everything manually. So HR even or the regularization would happen at the end of the month, which is typically which happens. And if you see HR between the 25th and 30th is really running around regularizing the attendance which is coming in. So this was the problem. And this is something, I'm sure most of you are also facing the same. The result was that there was duplicate work. There was a lot of follow-up culture which was in the organization, which is not good. And there was a lot of arrears which had to be coming because, payroll time, we have less time, and, people kind of forget to regularize, and then next month you have to give it, and that kind of a thing. So one single thing the company did. Company said that accepting WhatsApp approvals is not going to be allowed. So no applying for leave on WhatsApp. Applying, mind you. Today, if you see many of the employees, they just message on WhatsApp and it's done. That was stopped in the organization. And the adoption rate immediately went up from 0 to 95% within 45 days. Because, this is something that is required for most of the employees. So if you stop a habit, it became the adoption rate went up, and people follow this easiest acceptance process always. So once they know that there's no other way and it is something that is stake for them, they're personally going to be impacted. It works well. Now, why do we need an adoption? Why do you need, and what is the real cost? What does it mean if you have a lower adoption? First of all, there is a lot of time lost. You still have invested in a technology and you are not being able to get the most of it. There is also data management is poor. There is a lot of poor data management which happens. Sometimes it could lead to, because the data is not captured regularly, there could be wrong decisions which happen. There is a poor employee experience because today, in terms of technology, the new talent which comes in is expecting that the whole process is digitized, and therefore you have a low ROI of the investment that you have done on the HRMS. So these are the real cost of a low adoption, and somewhere, if as HR professionals, we showcase this to the management saying that I need your support to ensure that the HRMS is implemented effectively, and we need to stop a certain habits, because this is the cost which is involved, and this is a huge cost stream. It may look something which is just the cost of the HRMS, but it's not. It compounds into every downstream HR and business decision. So that's the reason it is important to have this ensure and sensitize your managers and your leadership that how important is that once we have taken a system to ensure that the full usage is being done. So one more thing that I want to talk about is that from how as HR, now let's understand how we can move from HR. So the first thing is that from the fear that is there among people of this change, HR should be able to build the confidence among the employees and the leadership that yes, having a HRMS is going to ensure that, you know, life is going to be easy for all, not only for HR, but for the all folks in the company. So once we have that, it will be, it is a good thing. The second thing which is important is that we need to start with good communication. So instead of saying that we are implementing HRMS, the entire communication methodology should be what's in it for me. What's in it for the employees, how their life is going to be easy, what's in it for the manager, what's in it for the HR, and what's in it for the leadership. If we focus on that rather than only on, you know, that we are implementing an HRMS and this is going to happen, it will be better accepted and there will be less resistance to change. Rather than only a one email, which could, you know, be a way of launching, I would say that you have a lot of buzz around the launch too. You could have posters across every floor. You could have short explanation videos which are run. You could have department champions. Every department could have champion which could be worked out. You can have a countdown campaign. You could also use demonstrations. And such things, as research has showed us, can actually improve your HR adoption from 18% to 82%. So having such campaigns can also help. Then, of course, making the use simple experience. Always, I say, benchmark yourself with Amazon, Google, UPI apps, how they ensure that everybody has an ease of working is very important. And that's something that you should work with your HRMS partner to ensure that the user experience is very easy. Now, this is something which I have already spoken about, that you need to train continuously, not once. In fact, there's a case study which maybe because of paucity of time I may not take, but which says HRMS Thursday is this something that we started in one company, but every Thursday there was a nugget of small videos being sent on the HRMS and how that can be done. So this is the whole HRMS Thursday. We planned every week some or other video which was coming in, and we also had a poll from the HR to say from the employees of which topic they want the HRMS to show on the next Thursday. So that kind of buzzword was done for the HRMS. In all this, what's important is also to ensure that your managers drive the adoption. We can, as HR, do the training, do the awareness, build campaigns, but it's important that their managers actually drive the adoption. They approve leaves, expenses travel only on HRMS, they review the dashboards there, they ask questions to the team, tasks through the HRMS, they do a complete PMS review and bell curve through that, reject offline informal request. If they do that, then we have a higher adoption rate. So having the managers really buying into your system is very, very important. So guys, it's the next thing is that strategy 5 is that you eliminate parallel processes. No HRMS plus Excel, no HRMS plus email, no HRMS plus WhatsApp. You only choose one system, one source of truth, one source which is giving the data, and that's going to be the HRMS. Until you get to this level, the HR adoption cannot happen that high. So this is, we spoke about that we need to integrate into our daily working the HRMS, and these are the few modules that can happen. Now, what is important is how do you measure adoption? So here are certain, because I believe that what gets measured gets improved. So we may say that yes, our HR adoption has to be high, but how do you measure this? So these are some of the things that you could look at, like for the example, matrices like login frequency, approval times, how many times approvals have happened through that, how much is the mobile app being used by the employees, what is the overall employee adoption percentage, how much is each of the modules being used, how many are the requests coming by HRMS and not manually, which are the managers actually using it, and what is the completion rate. This could be a few of the measures which one could look at when we look at the HRMS adoption. Now, here's a beautiful sample adoption dashboard, and you can see that this is something that is going to be available in 5H HRMS also, which is on employee login percentage, how much it is, how much are the leave through HRMS, travel requests via HRMS, loan and advance request on HRMS, confirmation reviews, how many are happening only through HRMS, managers login, expense claims, attendance regularization, PMS, increment proposals, and digital routed, how many are digitally routed. That kind of you can have an adoption rate once you're implementing an HRMS for yourself. And this could be tracked on a month-on-month basis to see what kind of improvement is coming on the same. There's another thing that has worked very well in an organization, and this is something which I must tell you all, that we should also reward good behavior. One thing is to say that yes, we'll say no to a few processes and start putting it on HRMS, but it's also important to reward good behavior. So maybe it would be a good idea to have some awards in the company, like the best digital department or a digital manager award, or today in where digitization and AI has become such an important thing, it would be a good idea to have something like a digital manager award for people or for managers who have a very high adoption rate for all the systems which are there in the company. You can also have fastest adopter for some employees. You can give certificates, some gamification. If you do some rewards that you bring it, actually it helps in bringing the excitement in the company. So this is in fact a case study where we did all the things that we spoke about. We talked about action, leadership communication happening on the day one, mandatory approvals, no offline path. We did departmental champions. That is also something that each of the departments, we identified champions who were going to promote the system within the team. Then weekly adoption reports to the leadership of how much it is happening. A quick response support deck. If you have a good support decks, who's resolving tickets very fast, then employees also get excited with this. And the gamification and recognition. If we have this, then of course, the turnaround can be much higher in terms of the employee adoption, the HRMS adoption. So team, in terms of, there are 6 pillars, if I say for the HRMS adoption to go up. The first one is technology. So of course, you need to choose rightly the HRMS which can support this kind of change management leadership initiative. Then you have leadership. Leadership is something which has to be, aligned with you. Their ownership, their time is going to make a lot of difference. The kind of communication you do around the HRMS, the training that is done for all the employees, the measurement, if you have a good adoption scorecard, that's going to help, and recognition. If these 6 pillars are there, then from your journey from resistance to adoption, of ensuring that your employees and your manager and your CEO is using the HRMS to the fullest, is going to be very, very seamless. Any questions on this one? Anybody? So far? So this is something that a roadmap we have prepared, which is typically we do it when we implement the 5 HRMS. One is awareness, then there is training, we do a go live, then there is support, and there's measurement. So this is something that we can typically have as a part of the adoption. Now the last thing that I want to take up is that these are the top few tips how we can drive. One is of course the communication, interface being very simple, remove manual alternatives, resolve issues quickly. Now, I have seen that some of the HRMS, the customer support is not that strong. They do not really support, the customer support is not that quick and responsive, not very proactive, which also impacts the implementation. So if you resolve issues quickly, it helps. Listen to the user feedback. If they given feedback, let's have a tracker, let's use it. Talk to your HRMS vendor, see whether that customization is possible. That's also something that can help. Train continuously, make managers role models, measure adoption, celebrate success, as we spoke about, and then keep improving. The journey team will become quite easy with this kind of support. And the last thing is that just wanted to showcase. So this is on the HRMS adoption. This is my final tip, which is the 10 tips that you need for driving adoption. Now, I just want to quickly talk about, just take a minute to talk about our HRMS. So 5H HRMS, which is an AI-powered HRMS, has the following modules. You can see it here. We have it's a mobile app with customer support and WhatsApp integrated too. So this is the HRMS that we have. And with this, I want to say that, you know, we are keep having these sessions, these webinars, and you all can come in and participate in the same, share your views also. So over to now the team. If you have any questions, I can take it. Otherwise, we can then close the session. Questions anybody has? Okay, thank you, team. Thank you for your time once again, and see you all for the next session. Thank you. Thank you.